Welcome to In the Room, where we explore the elusive world of casting for film, TV, and commercials. Join us as we interview directors, writers, producers, and actors, taking a deep dive into their experiences with casting and how the ultimate decisions are made in bringing a story to the screen. Get an inside look at casting and find out what really goes on in the room.
My name is John Williams. I am a casting director, and today I have Will and Sam from Rabbitfoot. Welcome, guys.
Let's go.
Let's go. The name Rabbitfoot comes from the idea that we make our own luck. We were founded by TV, film, and commercial veterans with diverse experience and a shared goal to create impactful long-form and short-form content with no egos attached. We have a core team of staff, whip smart, network of talented freelance partners who collaborate early and often to create powerful visual storytelling experiences. That's your guys' company, Rabbitfoot,
Yep.
which is so diverse and such a Swiss Army knife. So there's a lot to unpack here, from commercials to reality to documentary to theatrical. And so first I'm going to introduce Will Bakke. Is an award-winning filmmaker based in Austin, Texas, who focuses on coming-of-age stories with a smart comedic bent. Will began his career in 2008 when he directed two feature-length documentaries, One Nation Under God and Beware of Christians, which landed him a worldwide distribution deal, and premiered in over 17 film festivals. Will was awarded Best Documentary at the where's that? Maranatha? Where's that?
I don't even know.
You know, it's International Film Festival and Best Feature Film at the Pan Pacific Film Festival along the way. His first narrative feature film, Believe Me, which I want to get into, looks like incredible, which he co-wrote and directed, was selected as a centerpiece film at the Dallas International Film Festival before it was released in 2014. The film was chosen as a critic's pick by the New York Times. Will went on to direct several short films, including The Study, which was selected as a Vimeo staff pick, and A Get Together, which served as proof of concept, later adapted into a feature. All correct?
Yeah. Wow.
Heck of a vibe.
Yeah. Hearing your own rap
Yeah.
sheets, like, oh wow, yeah.
I mean, we got International, we got New York Times, we got Best, we got
You just
we
got
got pick.
the cool things in there.
Maranathamus.
Maranathamus.
You know,
International.
plenty of lows. You don't put those in.
No, dude, it's impressive for sure. And then there's Sam. At Rabbitfoot, he serves as an executive producer and partner, and have helped guide his transformation from a brand-centric studio to creative powerhouse with divisions in brand, TV, and film. His journey into the unscripted TV world has been a humbling yet exciting experience marked by collaborative successes, including sold shows and secured development deals with networks like Amazon, Max, HGTV, and Magnolia. He champions a forward-thinking approach, constantly questioning how he can innovate and strengthen their offerings. It's important to empower others so that we can all leverage our collective strengths, because at the end of the day, teamwork makes the dream work.
Teamwork makes the dream work. Let's
go. So I think very impressive. How did you guys get into this? Where's the origin story for you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
How I got started?
Yeah.
I have a very non-traditional way into the film industry. So I was obsessed with movies and theater in high school. In college, I had the opportunity to go do a road trip with some buddies after our sophomore year of college. And we were like, well, how are we going to fund this trip? You know, and I told my friends, I was like, well, I'm a film major. It could be cool to make a documentary. And they're like, well, what are we going to make a documentary about? And we were all at Baylor and Texas A&M. We'd all been raised as Christians. And so we were like, man, it'd be fun to go interview people around the country and just see, like, are we in our own bubble as far as religion goes, Christianity goes? Or are there some shared beliefs across the country? And so we sent out letters to our family and friends. We raised about $6,000. And that was enough for 4 guys to road trip around the United States for 5 weeks and live off that. And we just brought a camera that I think I borrowed from my church and like a shotgun microphone. And we ended up doing this trip. And then I think, to my friend's surprise, I ended up actually editing that footage into a movie. They were like, oh, dang, you actually made this movie. And and so that was my first sort of like foray. And
you guys, as you guys did it, you studied sort of the hypocrisy, or just sort of like the...
It was like, we really just, we drew a literal circle around the United States, for better or for worse. We ended up in some places we did not care to be or want to go again. But, And we just asked people everywhere we went, like, hey, what do you believe happens when we die? Who do you think Jesus was? What do you think about religion in America? And it was very much like we had to take the approach of like, we're students. We want to know what other people think. We're not like bringing our own, stuff.
Agenda. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's really what we did. And it was awesome. There was before Airbnb was a thing called couch surfing.
Yep.
And it was, so we used this website, couch surfing, and
for
posted.
For 4 of you guys?
For 4 of us. Yeah. Which is crazy. That anyone would let us crash on their floor or their couch, let 4 strangers in. But we put on our like profile, like we're making this documentary. We just want to stay with people who believe different things and learn.
Yeah.
And I think people took to that. They were like, it's cool. These kids are, 20 and just want to understand. So a lot of people opened their doors. A lot of people of different faiths did. And it was incredible. It was really cool.
That's One Nation Under God or Beware of Christians.
That was One Nation Under God. So we did that movie. We did screenings around Texas. We made about 20 grand in ticket sales.
Nice.
And we just like turned
That's a
around.
huge fucking success.
Yeah.
Dude.
I mean, for us, we were like, this is insane.
Yeah.
So with that money, we took that, bought a camera, and went and did a European sequel the next summer.
Beware of Christians?
So that was Beware of Christians. Yeah.
And how'd that go?
It was great. It was great. It was a lot
couch
more.
surfing?
No, it was a lot more. Yeah, we stayed in hostels.
Yeah.
We were backpacking. But that one was a little bit more of like, we'd all kind of, it was a couple different guys in this one, but we'd all at some point in our lives decided like, okay, we think we believe this Jesus guy. We think we're Christians. What does that mean? Like, what does that look like to be a Christian at 21 in college? So that was a little bit more of like an exploration, and every city we went to in Europe had a different theme attached to it. So we talk about, alcohol at Oktoberfest.
Yeah.
We talk about materialism and in Paris, Fashion Week. So
what was the thinking though, as far as, okay, this one was a success and now we're going to try to go bigger on this and then get like a bigger sort of wider release, or like where were you thinking as far as like a filmmaker?
I think the first documentary was like, okay, we learned a ton. Like we learned a lot about how to make a movie, what works, what doesn't work, what people like, what they don't like. And so for the second one, we were working on like, all right, what's an interesting B story that we can be telling, so that when people
really your filmmaking sort of education started happening there and like figuring out.
Yeah. And like how to tell a story. And then also editing wise, like my whole approach was just cut when you're bored, And so like,
I was going to ask, how long did it take you to edit that first one?
Yeah. I mean, I was in college as a junior. I was in a fraternity. Like I would work, like I'm a night owl. So I would edit from like, but I didn't want to like miss out on stuff. So I was editing from like midnight to 4 a.m. every night for probably like 7 months. And
just a massive amount of footage.
And then just sending cuts to friends and being like, tell me when you're bored.
Yeah.
Like tell me at what point you check out. And that was kind of like the way that I, tried to put together 90 minutes of interesting content.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
And then for the second one, did you feel like you had a better handle on it, or?
Yeah, still making it up as we went, but the second one was a lot more, it was a lot more intuitive of how to do it and keep it entertaining. And so we finished that movie. We ended up getting distribution through like a Christian, or a faith-based film distributor.
Which at that time, which is what that was like, what year was that? 2011?
2010.
Which that wasn't as available as it is now, like those networks and those channels.
Yeah. It was a very narrow, like if you're a Christian film, here are the things you gotta
and you can probably screen at the different churches. And,
yeah. But that's pretty much what we did. We moved to Austin, 2 of the guys and myself, started a company, and then we toured that movie around Beware of Christians for about 1.5 years. And did about 150 screenings around the country.
And when you guys were doing those, did you get paid, or did the ticket sales, or based
just like, we'd sell. Well, actually, it was also kind of, non-conventional, but it was free to come to the screening, and then we'd sell DVDs.
Okay.
But the DVDs we sold for name your own price.
Okay.
So we would allow people, we'd be like, hey, like we don't want you to think that we're in this for the money. So pay whatever you want if you want to share this with someone. But we also know some of you out there have your parents' credit cards and can afford to put $40 on it. Like,
right. Support the cause.
Yeah. So it allowed people to like turn like consumers into fans.
Okay.
And that was like really helpful. Like I think our tour average.
social media wasn't really taking off at that point, or was it? Or
Facebook was around, but it wasn't, and we would make groups for every like event we did, but it wasn't, like Instagram wasn't around yet.
That's incredible though. It's so
It's
like
wild.
it's so ingenious and such a good way to like figure out a way to distribute, you know, because like Hollywood would just be like, yeah, get out of here.
Yeah, it was very grassroots.
Very grassroots.
We were flying every campus.
And then you do Q&As afterwards. And,
Yep.
and how did and you said 150 dates?
150 shows, yeah, ish. We the way we got these bookings were there's a big Christian conference called Passion Conference, happens every year in Atlanta. And it's like schools from all over the country go. So we just like printed, 1,000 DVDs or 5,000. I don't even remember how many we printed, and just in little sleeves.
Did you get you got one of the burners? Like did you guys have one of those?
I think we had a manufacturing company do it because we had like custom.
We used to burn them in the thing.
Oh yeah. 10 at a time.
Go to Kinko's and stuff it in there.
I did that. We did that for sure for a while. This, since it was like, thousands of copies, we had a company manufacture them.
Yeah.
But like on the back was like, hey, we're touring, bring us out to your school. Here's how to contact us and all that. And people reached out. So that's how we booked all of our.
And then from a finance and a business model, did you start learning how to like put that together? Like you guys raised the money to go, or did you use the profits from the first one to go to Europe?
Yeah, we did. We used the profits from the first one to go to Europe to make the second one. And then we did screenings of the second one, all around Texas. We were all like Texas schools, so A&M, Baylor. And so we did schools at UT and A&M and, Texas Tech and all that. And made enough money to really fund the tour a little bit at a time.
Yeah.
Like one, 6 months at a time, really.
Did you guys end up turning a profit on it, or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We turned a
2
profit
for
on
2 so far.
Well,
it's amazing.
All of that was building up sort of a case study to then go take that to investors to raise money for a feature film.
For Believe Me.
For Believe Me.
Yeah. Which huge jump. I mean, that cast alone, like how did you, like I was watching it and I was like, how did he get to these people?
Yeah.
I mean, some of them weren't as big as they are now, right? Yeah. But how did you
DVD sales?
Yeah. But that process though, how did you I mean, it's still the look and the feel, everything stands. It seems you did a great job of making it timeless. Like it doesn't feel dated,
Yeah.
And the cast is like, it was such smart casting because those people only took off even more, right? How did you put that together? How did you do that? Like learning from now that you went One Nation to Beware, it's like, that's a huge leap.
Yeah, the budgets went from like $6,000 to $20,000 to close to $1 million.
Yeah,
so it was.
I mean, at least I knew it was at least $1 million.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I think that's a lot of it's like right time, right place. Like we got connected to a production company that was starting in Dallas that was led by Gary Cogill, who was a WFA film critic for many, many years. And they were starting a company called LeCo Films. And so they were looking for projects to invest in. I knew Gary because his daughter was in my class at Highland Park.
Yeah.
So it was just connections based, and they were looking for films to invest in. We had this great pitch. They knew we were hungry, like we were going to work our asses off, And so they backed the film and helped us raise the money from, different partners in Dallas.
I mean, it doesn't feel like a freshman film. It feels like the scope of it seems very, very large. It seems like it's way more than $1 million.
Yeah. Well, shout out John Rutland, our DP.
Who?
John Rutland. He was our cinematographer.
Okay.
He's a wizard.
Yeah. I mean, it feels and looks as if you're a veteran in making film. I mean, that's such a huge, from Beware of Christians to that. Like, were you scared or were you like?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
I mean, we hadn't even made like
where'd the balls come?
Yeah. I mean, just being dumb, you know, like it's, you have to be a little bit delusional to think you can make a movie.
You have to be so fucking delusional.
Yeah. Yeah. It's passion and delusion.
Yeah.
It's equal parts for sure. But, I had two buddies that we were all really passionate about making it. We had this concept of a movie that we thought was hilarious that we really wanted to make. And
it's great. It's so
the right pieces just kind of came together.
Yeah.
It just hit 10 years, yeah?
Yeah, it hit 10 years this week.
But as far as the investment goes, I mean, how did you know anything about the financing of a movie or anything about this, like the whole putting it together, like casting, all that stuff?
Yeah.
How'd you figure all that shit out?
We had a casting director for Believe Me, based out of LA. His name is JC Cantu. And he was great. I mean, you got to imagine, like, we're Texas boys. We fly to LA to do like auditions, watch casting calls. And there's just like actor after actor that are coming through. And some of them, and you have to be cool and just be like, yeah, you're here for our movie. And we're on the
whatever.
same level. Yeah. It's so silly. But, our casting director was like, do you guys want Aziz Ansari? And we're like, yes, what? And he'd be like, all right, we're going to reach out. And you're just like, all right, we'll see.
Yeah.
And
how was that process for you though? Like,
it was a blast.
Yeah.
It was so fun. We were like 24 trying to figure out, how to make our first movie.
Did you have a list of names that you were like hopeful for, or was it cool?
We had a list of names for sure. I mean, a lot of the actors in it are a lot of like TV stars from like Glee and, Alex Russell, who plays the lead in it. He was kind of famous that time for Chronicle, and he was with Michael B. Jordan and Dane DeHaan. They were the leads in Chronicles, and I loved Alex's performance in that. So I was like, man, we'd be lucky to get this guy.
Yeah.
And fortunately, he read the script, and he's from Australia and could resonate with some of the Christian themes. And he's not a Christian himself, but he was like, I know this world. I would love to do this with you guys. And so it was fun.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it came together so great, and I think being in that position of like at that time too, people were like always looking for. It wasn't so fluid as it is now. It was like to go from TV to film was not an easy thing to do to get to trust, and then you also had to do a film that did well, so that then the studios were like, okay, he's bankable.
Yep.
Did you have to get into any of that financing side, like with they're worth this or they're worth that, or was that like something that came into play, or was it like, look, we'll take a risk on you for $1 million?
We were in terms of them investing in us.
Yeah, like just in the film, right? Like, I mean, we all know as we raise money all the time,
totally,
how hard it is.
Yeah, well,
like it's like. I mean, hats off to you, dude. Like, it's to be the first time filmmaker, really hard to get funded.
Totally.
Right? First time filmmaker, really hard to get a cast.
Yeah.
Right? First time filmmaker, really hard to make something that does well.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, like,
those are all hills you have to get over.
Yeah.
The first time filmmaker, I mean, we definitely had actors interested that dropped the project because I was a first time director. And that's like, every director has to kind of get over that. It helps if you have like short films though. It helps if you've done.
For sure. You got to show them something.
Yeah, I had nothing.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. I'm looking at like, how the fuck did he make this leap?
Well, okay. I'll say this too. Like, money talks. What was different about our process was we raised the money and then we went and looked at the cast.
Totally. So it's usually chicken and egg. You got to get the guy to get the money.
And most agents were like, what do you mean they have the money already?
We'll take it.
How is that possible?
Yeah.
And we were like, yeah, it's Texas. It's like Texas investors. And they're like, yeah, dude, Texans are weird. They're just like, it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
But, we'd gotten the investment because of our track record with the other movies. And really, I think the investors got involved because they saw we'd sort of built out this test case where like we'd found an audience. Yeah. We knew how to reach them. Although we were even naive to that of how hard that is.
Did you guys build like sort of an email list, or did you guys have any sort of organization around it?
Yeah, but it was like college kids.
Yeah.
And by the time our movie came out, like half those email addresses were gone. Okay, They're the college email addresses.
Yeah.
And a Christian movie is difficult because there's no clear path with the kind of movie we were making.
Yeah.
Like the only distribution model that worked then was for the very like beat you over the head with the gospel type movies.
Yeah.
That was not really our audience.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you guys were walking a line kind of between the sort of like a true comedy and sort of a Christian themed movie.
Yeah.
Super interesting, man. That's congratulations. And it seems like the world took to it. How was that for you? Like getting the recognition and people like.
I mean, it's I think it's like 45% on Rotten Tomatoes, and I think we have like maybe 10 reviews. It's such a weird part of the process because I remember we were in New York City for the premiere, and the first 3 reviews that came out were negative.
Yeah,
and a lot of it had to do with like religion, and we were like, dang, like this is a hot topic issue to make a movie about, like. And we were like, we totally blew it. and then the next review that came out was New York Times, and they made it their critics pick. And we were like, oh, we need to not care about anybody.
You can't,
you can't care.
Yeah, let's
about
talk
the
about
bad,
that for a second.
And you can't like the good either.
Every film that I ever do, it's like that's their job is to critique.
Yeah,
like they're not going to be like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah,
like unless it's a black and white foreign film with a migrant, in sort of like Antarctica.
Yeah, but then how many people are going to watch that?
Yeah, exactly. Totally. But then they're like, this is the best film ever. But you try to do a comedy or something normal, it's like they break it down.
Yeah,
that's good that you learned that early on.
Yeah, it's similar. Like, don't read the comments. It's like, don't care about critics, good or bad.
Go
Just
back to
doesn't
any
matter.
film that you love and go research the.
And at the end of the day, are you happy with what you set out?
Totally. I mean, look, if you're in this business for the end product, like you're going to be very miserable in your life. You got to love the process of making movies, and you got to love the product that you make for yourself without it being dependent on how other people receive it. Because people are going to hate your product and people are going to love your product.
Oh, I know.
And you got to.
Yeah, we've faced, I mean, I've helped with projects over the years and we've faced some pretty steep criticism.
Oh, yeah. Well, and some of the best movies people hate.
Yeah.
And I love it.
I usually, that's like sort of my I say, oh, I really like this. It's not going to do well.
Go for the reverse jinx.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I don't like this at all. It's probably gonna do great.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's take you. How do you get up to speed? Because you start coming into Will's life around here a little bit later.
Well, I think I first met Will when I moved to Austin, so that was probably 2015.
Okay,
I came up in the Dallas production community. As Will said, like so much of this industry is right time, right place, and background was in the commercials. Fell in with Jeff Bednar's legendary director, Dallas director. Yep, and made the move down to Austin in 2015, and I think that's just when Will and I linked up through like trying to meet more production industry folks here in Austin. We were similar in age and just kind of hit it off, you know. And that's kind of how Will and I initially linked up. But yeah, it came down to Austin in 2015. Rabbit Foot was actually started by Jeff.
Yep.
So, you know, he asked me one day when we were up in Dallas, like, hey, how would you feel about moving down to Austin and helping me get this company going? And I was like, you had me at Austin. That's all you had to say.
Yeah.
You know?
Because Jeff was still in Dallas at that time.
Yeah, Jeff was still in Dallas at that time doing commercials, and he was kind of seeing the industry change on the advertising side. And so Rabbit Foot was kind of like this new thought process of doing production, specifically for advertising, which, you know, and I was still a baby at that time. I'd graduated from college maybe 3 years before that and was just PAing and, you know, doing the Dallas advertising production scene, and then ultimately fell in with him to the point where, you know, started assisting him and then producing for him. And that's when the Austin opportunity came up to move down here.
Yeah.
So, and that was a whole crazy experience. But
as far as through the Rabbit Foot process, as far as you guys ultimately ending up being Rabbit Foot?
Ultimately ending up being Rabbit Foot. And then we've transformed so much since then. You know, it's crazy that was 9 years ago, almost 10 years ago. But I think, you know, Will and I really first started working together through the commercial gigs, right? So Will was always working on his feature stuff, but you would supplement your feature work with director gigs or editorial gigs. So
I mean, you're a full-on Swiss Army knife. Like,
totally.
Like writer.
Well, in Austin, you kind of have to be. Yeah. I mean, movies happen every couple of years. Like, it's not gonna. If you're doing indie films, you can't support yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, Sam.
I mean, doing major films,
on my
you can barely support
years.
Like, it's hard to the film industry. It takes years, you know, we all know, it takes years to get something off the ground.
Totally, but the more we started working together, the more I was always like super intrigued with everything that Will had going on.
Yeah.
You know, being in the advertising space, you know how it is. Like, you know, yes, it's creative, but you're answering to a client at the end of the day. So there's always that urge of and a little bit of that jealousy, like, oh, Will's really working on stuff that he's passionate about and cares about, you know?
I was jealous on the other side, being like, man, it seems consistent to have a nice job.
Yeah, you're making money. Yeah. I mean, that's what's so interesting. You guys definitely have a unique balance of it all, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, from the brands to the reality to the filmmaking, you know?
Well, I feel like this industry is, you know, everybody always says, oh, it's crazy, it's changing. But really in the last 5 years, you know, the whole thing, you have to have that diversification, you know, and it's fun. It's more fun that way, I think.
Where do you guys think we're at or where we're going?
Oh man, such a loaded question.
I know.
You know,
I mean, what's happening right now in Hollywood is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, just on the TV side, I think it all comes down to consolidation of linear TV is kind of going away a little bit.
Yeah. Cable's, I mean, Warner Brothers posted $8 billion deficit. Like, so let's go back. So you guys come together and you get an idea to get some reality, or how did that come about?
Yeah. So 2019, was when, at Rabbit Foot, we'd been been lucky enough to do a lot of documentary style work and
branded like content with Yeti and
exactly.
And
Yeah. So we popped up actually on Magnolia Network's radar because Chip and Joanna Gaines started this Magnolia network up in Waco, and they said, okay, we're gonna take a look at Texas production and post-production companies.
See what's in our backyard.
Gotta love that. They've done amazing things for Waco, and so they wanted to kind of do the same thing for the rest of Texas. And so we popped up on their radar just from some of that branded content work that we had been doing, which all we cared about was authentic storytelling and make it beautiful.
How do you guys approach reality? Like because like one, everybody's comes up to me and says, hey, I have a great idea for a reality show.
Totally.
And you're like, I don't want to hear it.
And 90% is themselves.
Yeah.
It's about their lives.
Yeah. And you're like, I don't want to hear it. Like, you have no, like when people tell me I have a movie idea, I'm like, I don't want to know. Like, you're not going to steal 3 years of my life.
Yeah. It's tough because like everybody thinks that they have a good idea, and they probably do for a reason that's important to them, so you have to have that holistic view of like what is working right now, because we talk about all the time, you have to have 3 buckets, right? You can have a great idea that's super interesting, but it's not sellable. Mm-hmm. So, that's one bucket.
Sellable meaning, what do you mean by sellable as far as like
sellable? Just like you have to be realistic. There are some ideas or concepts or the way that you're doing
it's sellable, though?
Well,
you don't, right?
That happens over the course of time. Having conversations with networks, with streamers, with
let's break down
agents,
how crazy difficult the reality game is. Like,
dude, it's so difficult, but we got like so lucky the very first thing that we pitched, and that's kind of what launched us was we struck lightning without even realizing it, basically. Super naive.
The process for us was we went to Magnolia, and the way that we got connected was Sam called me up and was like, hey, I'm going to go pitch. Magnolia wants us to pitch some TV show ideas. You want to pitch with me? And I was like, I've never pitched TV. Let's do it.
Yeah. So both of us were like, we have no idea what we're doing. But
no clue. But for like a week, we just harvested different ideas, like different things all over the map. Because we're like, listen, like if we go to them with 15 like diverse ideas and they say no to all of them, like they don't know what they're doing. There's going to be something that falls in their camp of like what they're interested in.
Didn't stick.
Exactly. So we showed up and we had some ideas like, about these women that own vineyards, out in Fredericksburg. And like before we even got started, they were like, by the way, we don't want anything in alcohol. And we were like, cool, pages ripped out. know? And we just kind of like scattershot pitched a bunch of ideas. And one of the ideas that they responded to was a concept called Van Gogh. Yeah. And that was an idea our buddy Chad Werner had, who's another filmmaker here in Austin, about our friend Brett, who turns vans into homes. We like to say it's like Pimp My Ride for millennial hipsters. You know? And we ended up, they said like, oh, we like this. We want to see more. So Sam and Chad and I put together a sizzle of our buddy Brett, sent it into them, and like a week later, I want to say we were greenlit for a pilot. And we were like, this TV thing is easy.
Let's do more of this. This is awesome.
Like, we should just exclusively do television. And since then, we've never had a yes as fast as
I got a buddy with a barbecue pit.
It's so insane.
Let's go.
Yeah.
We were so naive.
But I think a lot of that is built into our ethos, like crowdsourcing, right? And like we want to be the place that friends and producers and directors, can come to and help get an idea out there, So we like to say that we love development, and crafting our own ideas, but we also love helping other people out with their ideas too, know, and can kind of be a sounding board for that. So, but that, Van Gogh originally was, wow, that was a lucky endeavor.
And do you feel like you approached that, since not having any sort of reality TV experience, did you guys approach that more as like a filmmaker? Or did you approach it more? Yeah, we
approach it like, what's cool is because Sam came from branded content and commercials and I came from movies, neither one of us had this ego about us for television. Like neither one of us dreamed of being a television producer. So we were able to be like, dude, let's just have fun. Let's do what's best for the project, and find the right people to put in place to be successful. And so for us making that show, we both brought in what we knew how to do, which for me was documentary. For him, it was branded. Yeah. And it's all storytelling at the end of the day. So I think those things helped bring a good.
And we definitely brought people in who had the traditional, TV reality experience to help us out.
Mentor,
Yeah, exactly. But I think because of our different backgrounds, we questioned a lot of the process. We
Yeah.
were like, okay, well, why does
Why
that
are we
be
doing
done
it
this
that
way
way?
when
Yeah.
we can do it this way?
How did
you
that
know?
go as far as with networks and stuff like that? Was like,
I mean, we got renewed for season 2,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I think that says a lot. But
And I would say too, like our pilot, we had like an entire like opening scene that we had kind of dreamed up, and we shot really cinematically, which is just like not what you do for reality television.
yeah.
And that opening scene is apparently like what got us the green light, because in the first 2 minutes, Chip and Joanna were like, "This is hilarious. We got to do this."
Yeah.
And I think thinking differently, thinking about it more cinematically was like an edge that we had that we didn't
Yeah.
realize at the time, but
This is fresh. This is different.
worked.
Yeah. And then they say, now do it like we always do it.
yeah, a little bit.
And they slowly want to go back to let's-
Yeah. What works. How did you guys find the whole process? Was it frustrating? Was it like, I mean, how did you guys find?
I mean, I love the process.
Yeah.
And I think that was like the big reason why, hey, let's do more of this. And, I think we're good at this,
Yeah.
and
No, Van Gogh's awesome.
no, well, and it was just fun.
Yeah.
It was like me coming from the advertising commercial world where projects are so short term, you kind of
And
have
so controlled and rigid, right?
totally. And
And
every
then you
project,
coming from a place where it's just completely wild, right?
Yeah,
So it's like
yeah.
kind of the best of both worlds in there.
It was also
Totally.
peak COVID. So
Yeah.
we didn't have a 60-person crew on set. Like it was like less than 10.
I forgot that. Yeah, it was COVID.
So
Yeah.
it was
You're the
it was-
only people on the planet working.
that's right.
we
Yeah,
felt
figured it
very
out.
lucky, yeah.
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 That's,
But-
yeah. And then so you guys, that just like kind of like happened, and then you're like, this is easy.
Yeah, it was just kind of an organic kind
Yeah.
of feeling and process after that, where it was like, this is awesome. Let's do more of this,
Yeah.
And so that kind of kicked us off and pretty much launched an entire long form division of Rabbitfoot, where we said, hey, we're gonna focus a lot more on unscripted episodic, feature documentaries, and then feature films
Yeah.
as well, the scripted side.
Mhm.
So yeah, we officially partnered up, I want to say 2020. And then brought in another partner, 2021,
Yeah.
whose background is really in the traditional, unscripted TV side of things.
How do you
So,
guys feel? I know this is a loaded question, but how do you guys feel where we're at or where we're going, or like what's your sort of insight being, for people hopefully watching and listening? Like I'm baffled. I'm like, I just feel like I don't have no idea what's going on.
Yeah, you want to take this one?
You go and I'll add.
Yeah, I think it's not easy, and
It's never been easy.
It's never been easy. I think you have to hustle more now than ever. And if you can be frugal and keep your overhead low and just try and outlast it, and honestly try and be creative with how you package things together, right? Because the days of just getting a 10 episode freshman series greenlit, kind of not going to happen anymore. Same
Yeah.
thing with on the feature side, just walking into a room and selling something immediately. Like that Van Gogh experience that we had 5 years ago.
Well, I mean, I think I'm more interested in learning like where is that sort of Van Gogh experience? Where are we going? Like, where's the next place that people, where the attention's going to be? Like, what do we make? Like, where are we fucking going?
Yeah.
I
feel like
mean, I don't know that you guys know, but that's like I think everyone's trying to figure out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I can talk about that at length. I feel like for us, what we've
You got
found,
30 minutes, so
Yeah,
you're good.
well-
Let's go.
what we've found in the last couple of years is it takes a great talent, it's a great idea, and then it's just a great timing.
Timing
So
is, yeah.
you can
timing is
control, what the story is. Like we hear great story ideas
Yeah.
all the time for TV shows, great concepts. And then we go find the right talent to put with that concept to make it stronger. Sometimes we have great talent that we don't really know what to do with, but we'll go look for concepts to wrap around that talent and create a better pitch. But even after all of that, we'll build a sizzle. We might do cast interviews. We'll have like a full season breakdown of the episodes. We'll have a great why now. We'll have, great visuals. And it really just comes down to like, is the timing right? I mean, for us, when we got Van Gogh, the timing was right for us because Magnolia was brand new and they were looking for production companies and they really liked working with people in Texas. The hardest thing to do is get your foot in the door
Mhm.
because we've also experienced this where like we'll take out like a true crime. And because we haven't made a true crime yet, sometimes it's like, I love the idea and I love the talent, the timing's right, but actually we don't want it from you because
Yeah.
you haven't done it before.
Right.
And we can only take risks on people that have already done the thing that we're looking for.
Yeah.
So there's even more elements evolving in this equation that we're learning about. But
You
gotta
rarely
take
get
a lot of
fired for a
swings.
no, but you get fired a lot for a yes. It fails, right?
Yeah.
For those guys. Right?
Yeah, I mean, and with things tightening up, like streamers, networks, they want to work with people that they've already had success with.
Right.
And so
I mean,
it
that's
takes
across
a
the
lot to
board in
get there.
Hollywood too. It's like, well, you've only done, these type of films, or you've only done
stay in
these
your
type-
lane.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's the same thing in the ad world too,
Yeah.
right? It's
You've
like
only done car, you've only done food.
totally.
Yeah.
It's so easy to get pigeonholed. And as
Yeah.
a new director, it's like, are you gonna really invest in a lot of spec work to get it? It's that weird catch 22. You have to have the work to get the work.
Get the work, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's, like what you did is just trailblaze through these documentaries into features. Like that's what's like, I mean, it's impressive. It's not an easy task to get through all that, right? And to get to where you guys are at too.
Still trying to figure it out.
Yeah, and I mean
Yeah.
that's the other thing. Like you're only as good as your last thing, right? And then it's like you're always out hunting, you're always out fishing.
Yeah, and just hustle and just, hey, you might have to take a haircut, but if it's worth doing it for the future or getting the credit or just having the experience, it's worth it. So
Yeah. And so where do you think like I'm interested in thinking like there's all these lives now. People are watching lives, right? And I think that's maybe eating into reality. Like people are just now going to watch people live on TikTok.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, I think YouTube is going to be huge.
Gonna be?
It already is, but like, yeah, it's going to keep trending that way.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
I don't see my kids or anybody getting cable, right? Like,
well,
No.
that's
I mean-
like an intro. I was having this conversation the other day. It's like, do you think YouTube's obviously super popular with kids, right? But do you think they hit a certain age, like when they hit 18 and the brain's a little bit more developed, where they start swapping over to more like what we watch or what we grew up watching? You know what I mean? Or are they just going to be 30 years old still consuming YouTube? You know what I mean?
I see more so I'm going to YouTube now to
Yeah.
watch things I'm interested in and learn. If I'm going to spend my time on content, it's like I'm watching stuff that I'm interested in
Yeah.
and that's feeding my brain, right?
Yeah.
And I can find that on YouTube. I go to Netflix, I'm like, there's nothing,
It's kind of the endless
scroll of like,
Yeah.
there's nothing here except for the McMahon thing. I started that last night.
Which one?
Vince McMahon.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
That was good. But so I'm curious, where's the new business model?
Yeah. I think it's all going to get sectioned off. Like right now, there's a sprint to get all the sports because sports is really the biggest thing that draws people back to cable is to watch live
Yep,
sports.
for sure.
And even now, like that's
You're not going to watch
where-
robots play sports.
Yeah, in the last year, that's where a lot of the biggest plays have been. Like Amazon getting all the NFL contracts and Apple going after soccer, and it's like every
Well,
streamer
Messi just
network-
did a content deal the other day. Lionsgate just did a deal with Runway they gave them all their IP to scan. So it's like, I think that live sports survives,
For sure.
right?
And then you have all the content built around live sports
Yeah.
too, right?
Well, that's where the value is.
Yeah.
But once that gets sort of taken off the board, then news and politics. But I think even that, like Tucker Carlson leaving and starting his own thing, like I think all the popular names are going to start going independent.
And it's more interesting
acquired by
content
big
though.
streamers.
Tucker,
Yeah.
has no, like even with Rogan and all this, when you don't have this corporate, person that you have to, answer to,
Mhm.
you get this freedom and the content becomes better.
Yeah.
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 But how do you survive and pay for that,
Yeah.
make that content?
Well, it's like
There's a real interesting moment here where it's like, we could make cooler, better stuff, but what do we do with it? You
Yeah.
know? And
Well-
then even like independent film, like, do we get a platform where people, cause like right now, what I'm seeing on my end that's just devastated us is like, we put out movies and they're hits, but we don't make any money because we don't get, they hit on the platforms.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
And so you get a movie that's number one on Netflix, but that doesn't equate to any money for us, right?
Yeah. Because
And
they're
Netflix-
still making the same amount of money no matter how
They're
many
making
times.
more, right? They're making more because they're getting more viewers and they're getting more audience. And then now they're trying to say, hey, Netflix is trying to say, went to the agents and said, hey, we'll give you less up front, but we'll give you more on the back end. you know, which is, if you guys are successful, then they're trying to change. Because once we took the DVDs out and the, you know, all the, like you can't make a movie for what it cost and get a return the way that it's set up right now, right?
Yeah. Well, and then also transparency, right? Is like, are they sharing that information with you? How accurate is it? You know?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's all super interesting. I think it's going to be a lot more brand integration, you know, across YouTube, episodic.
I feel like the studios, I mean, where are your guys as far as AI? I feel like this once a film comes out that's all AI that does money, they're like, okay, this works.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and that's why I even called a producer. I was like, dude, let's just go all in. Let's just make something, you know what I mean? Like, how do you stop that? How do you stop?
I mean, I think Tyler Perry like halted his multi-million-dollar studio once he saw what AI was doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, everything's going to get cheaper to make, and you're going to try to automate as many positions as you can to help your bottom line.
I mean, it's attention, right? If you have the attention, then...
Well, that's the thing is like, if you ask, I forgot where I saw this in an interview, but it was like, if you ask Netflix and Hulu and Disney, like, who's your biggest competitor? They'd say YouTube. And if you ask YouTube, who's your biggest competitor? They'd say time, because there's only so much time in the day to keep, you know, eyeballs on YouTube.
Yeah.
And they're trying to fight that and find out how can we keep people on here all the time. And YouTube is like dominating in that regard.
Yeah.
So I think they're going to continue to try to make the product as addicting as possible. And part of the way that that's being done is, you know, guys like Mr. Beast who have found out like there needs to be faster cuts. It's the reason why TikTok.
But he's running into issues with his show with Amazon
for different reasons. Yeah. I mean, he's having issues making the leap into traditional television,
which is interesting, right? That he's going that way.
I'm curious why.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's probably just to expose a new audience, so he has to kind of do that dance for a bit. But right now, he's completely independent on YouTube, which is where he'll always stay. Like it doesn't benefit him to go take a big contract with a network who is never going to be able to pay him as much as he'll make independently on YouTube.
So the Mr. Beast is interesting to me because I feel like, you know, you take these scandals like Diddy or you take the Me Too stuff and you sort of for the younger generation, it just sort of wipes out a whole genre. And I feel like if Mr. Beast gets into too much trouble, it wipes out this idea that it's okay to like make these kind of videos because all the stuff he's going through right now, and it wipes out sort of like it's cool to make content for YouTube, right? And what I'm seeing and what I think is happening is that we're advancing in technology, and then there's just going to be a new sort of delivery system of it. Right. Yeah. Like if it's going to be AR, it's going to be the goggles or whatever. And so that's where I'm like looking and super interested. Like, where are we going to start consuming this stuff?
Yeah.
And how can we make that leap, right? And be the first to those platforms or to that delivery system, right? Because that's when it's always like, whether it's a YouTube or anything, it's void in content. And so it's like, be the first to get there, you know?
Yeah. I mean, ultimately it's just, what are people interested in watching, right?
Yeah.
Like, just, you know, that might be generalizing it too much, you know, but
well, it's going to silo off too. Like, you know, you ask kids what they want to be when they grow up now, and a lot of them say YouTubers. You know, before that it was influencers. Now it's even more specific, just YouTubers. And there's so many people like that are famous that have millions and millions of followers and viewers and fans that we don't know. We don't even know who they are. And like back in like the 90s, like there was 6 movie stars in everything.
Yeah.
And everybody knew who they were. The idea of like a movie star has kind of gone away. And now it's being replaced by a lot of these sort of like micro movie stars, which are just YouTubers.
Yeah.
So it's like bigger shift, film to digital or digital to AI, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, so as a company, like where do you guys, what's your strategy to like, you know?
In the immediate, I think right now, so what we've noticed, you know, another part of our business that worked in our favor when we were starting out was right before the pandemic, was when all of these streamers were popping up. Peacock, you know, Plus, Disney.
I mean,
Plus,
it was a gold
Hulu,
mine. It was a gold rush.
It was a gold rush.
Yeah.
Everybody needed content, so everybody was buying.
Yeah.
Now there's this like, you know, it's gone from feast to famine where a lot of these companies are sort of cannibalizing each other. You know, just with like Magnolia alone. Like Magnolia is part of Discovery, which is merged with Warner Brothers, that owns HBO Max, which is Max. And it's like they're in charge of a lot of the unscripted for Max, but their brand is very different from what the Max viewer is looking for, but it's all kind of now one and the same. And so the amount of like buyers has shrunk. And so the opportunity to get into the market is a lot more difficult. And so I think that like with fewer buyers, it's just, again, it's like more niche. And I don't know. I think the way
I also feel like you know, there's a whole other industry, which is the branded content, and the advertising that was supporting broadcast and cable. And
that's moved over.
That's moved over.
So now these buyers want a brand attached to the products that you're going to go pitch them.
Yeah.
So it's not really enough to just say like, we have this great talent and this great concept. We also have a great brand that's willing to put up money to fund half of the season.
Yeah.
You know, and be a partner and buy ad spend and that sort of thing.
Yeah, and that's not even addressing all the fast channels that are out there, all the different like it's weird because I feel like in some ways it's harder to sell a show than ever before, but it's easier to get creative with packaging it, whether it's, you know, carving off distribution rights internationally and domestically, bringing a brand on to where they can benefit, you know, to be attached to the concept. So it's one of those interesting deals where it's like there's more opportunity to get creative with packaging things, but harder to just do the straight commission sell where you're just gonna, you know, sell this thing straight to Discovery,
anymore.
you know. So it's really gonna come down to the companies that can be creative and not just have that one track mind of like, we've existed in this commission deal set up for the past 20 years. Okay, you got to change that, you know.
There's also this interesting place, which I think you guys are extremely well positioned for with your backgrounds, that like, you know, that you guys have such a diverse like experience in documentary and brand and all that stuff, that like there is going to be this new form that I think someone like you or you know, the people that are kind of works in all these, or we're going to see, you know.
Yeah.
Like I believe that like I believe there's going to be another iPhone moment, right? Where it's going to be like, there's something that comes out or something. I just feel like there's something that's about to happen that it's going to be like, that's the light, that's the direction. Because right now I just feel like everyone's looking around going, which fucking way do we go?
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're past due for that iPhone moment. Man.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, I saw some goggles come out the other day that were pretty insane. They're just like glasses you put on and it's just full on.
Yeah.
And they look like your shades.
I'm kind of surprised that the VR AR hasn't taken off more than it has.
I just think because it's too bulky, right?
Too bulky, too expensive.
And too expensive. These were the first thing I saw that was like nanotechnology, and it was like, you know, and how to keep it cool, and it was just basic glasses.
Yeah, without having to put a chip in your brain, you know.
Which I'm down for.
Yeah, come on.
Like, I'm so down. Like I've been in this potty for long enough. Like let's give me. I want to dunk. Like give me some legs. Give me something.
Totally.
I mean, would you not like put it? I would. I like it like instantly. All the languages, all the information. I would do it.
Yeah.
I think I'm crazy, but I'm like, if I could experience that could be.
I probably wouldn't be the first one, but like, you know, let you do it first and see how it goes. Yeah.
I'm way too paranoid for it. I'm way too paranoid.
Yeah.
Because I feel like once it's there, I mean, it's kind of like when the iPhone came out. It's like to have a flip phone, like you're just going to get outpaced and you have to adopt the new technology. Yeah. So I am worried that's what's going to happen is like once some people get Neuralink, then they're going to be outpacing everybody even by just a couple seconds, and that's enough to like see their success trajectory and be like, well, I got to get it too.
Yeah.
And everybody gets it. And man, having computers in your head is so scary.
Yeah.
But the way the government and tracking and all that stuff already is, I'm like, no thanks.
Yeah. I get that, but it's like they're already doing it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I hope, man, that's my hope, is that technology allows for people are going to think I'm stupid for saying this, but like that we are able to use it to give us more time and give us more human experience, you know, but that's just my hope.
Yeah, I'm with you on that, you know.
Yeah, that it takes care of a lot of the bullshit work we don't want to do, but you're right. If we're still in capitalism and a race, it's like the advantage is going to, I mean, it's already going to people that are utilizing AI. Are you guys utilizing that stuff at all, or?
Yeah,
totally.
Yeah.
I mean, we were pretty hot on it early. You know, just from like creating pitch decks and writing copy, like we have used Midjourney to create a lot of the images of sort of the dream shows that we've wanted to make, you know, and then we can drop those into Photoshop and tweak them a little bit.
Yeah.
But we can do that. And then we can have an idea, you know, that we can kick around and then be like, great, let's drop it in ChatGPT and see if it can build out a format for us, or let's.
Yeah, because there's so much work that you guys do, that we all do for free, just on the hopes.
On the development side
Yeah.
of things, it's crazy. So if you can even get 50% of your time back, you know, like plugging something into ChatGPT, it's going to give you, it's never going to be ready to go right away, you know. But if you can finesse it, use it as a baseline, maybe it gets you thinking about something else in a different way, you know, then heck yeah.
If it gets you 60% there, it's like, that's, you know, think about how much time you just saved. We're probably 4 to 5 times faster, and like coming up with an idea, getting it on paper with the format and the locations and the celebrity guest and the, you know, just all the bells and whistles of a good pitch and the imagery that goes along with it to make it look like a premiere product.
Yeah.
Well, and you know how it is too for director's treatments. Like if you can plug into Midjourney, I want a cat eating mayonnaise out of you know, like, and it spits that out for some kind of visual representation. You're never going to do a Google search and find that, you know. So,
and I know the antiquated version of that is directors that just have like paragraphs and images. They just keep moving over for each one. Yeah. I don't think anyone understands how hard and how much work it takes just to get work.
For sure.
Like, and how much work it takes to do the work. Like, it's just, it's overwhelming what all goes into any one of these type of productions, and how much work it takes, you know, just on the hopes, you know.
Totally. But if it was easy, everybody would be doing it, right?
I guess.
Or are we just
you gotta love it. You gotta love it. If you don't love it, you got out a long time ago.
Yeah. And what do you guys love? Like, what do you, like, I question that myself. I'm like, do I still love this? Or like, what do I love about doing this? For me, it's been, as a casting director, it's being able to help people see and achieve what their dream is, right? Or finding people that never would have this opportunity, right? And giving it to them, whether it's someone I find on a real person on the street or whatever, and it opens up a world to them. What is it that you guys love?
For me, it gets me out of my bubble. You know, it's the places that we get to travel to, the people that we get to meet. You know, two weeks ago, outside of Amarillo on 2 different ranches, you know, having dinners with working cowboys who I would never, ever cross paths with them in a different life, you know, but we're able to spend time together, build an authentic relationship, and I get to experience life in their shoes, you know, so.
The exposure you get to people in the different industries and the different, like,
it's crazy.
Yeah, you learn so much about just specific, because you get paired with, it's a funny thing what we do that you know, if I would have called someone who's, you know, the excellent in their career and they've advanced, they would never have taken my call. But I'm like, hey, we're doing a commercial or we're doing a movie, and they're like we did brain surgeons on The Exorcist, and I was like, I got premier brain surgeons, like they would have never taken my call. You know, but then you're doing the casting and you're learning about brain surgery.
It's gonna come in handy. You decide to put that in Neuralink, you know.
Exactly. I know who to call now. I just got a Neuralink off Amazon. Can you put this in?
Come on.
Oh, dude, every day is a new adventure for sure. I mean, we're working on like a true crime where, you know, the other day I was with a buddy, and he's like a medical sales guy, and just hearing about what his day was, he's like, it's very similar to today and yesterday and the day before that. He's like, what'd you do today? I was like, well, today I was like trying to reach a Polish prison to see if I can get a guy on the phone who's going to talk about this, like, you know, gaming scam he was involved in the early 2000s. It's like the weirdest days that you can imagine just kind of pop up, and every day's different. It's just fun. Like, it's a lot of fun. And you can kind of follow what you're interested in at the time. You know, we've done some shows in home renovation. We're working on some stuff in true crime. We're building some game shows. We're doing, you know,
features,
it changes. We've got 2 movies we're going to be working on next year, and it's we're never bored. So that's part of it.
I don't know that. I don't even know what I would do. Like, what would you do if you weren't doing?
Dude, I have the joke all the time. Like, I would just be an excavator operator, go work construction. Like, how much, every time I drive by a construction site, I'm like, okay, you know, like Office Space, you know, he ends up just being, you know, working construction. Leave your work at home, you know, or leave your work at the site.
So I drive by things. I drive by things all the time. I'm like, I could do that. And I'm like,
I just realized that Sam just really looks at those excavators every time we cross them. It's like,
100%. Just moving dirt.
Yeah. Let's go. Keep it simple.
But we're not there yet.
If I see you building a freeway, I'm not gonna. I don't know if I'm gonna take that road.
Yeah, don't take that 290 highway.
What about you? What do you think you would do? You were doing this.
If I wasn't doing movies, jeez, I don't know. I thought I was gonna be a youth pastor for the longest time. But I just love storytelling. It'd probably be something in the same,
same-
that's doing that.
It's just in
not
your
with film.
DNA. Yeah.
Yeah, I just love it.
Yeah.
I mean, for the same reasons that Sam loves it. It's like I found this out doing the documentaries. This is probably where it messed me up. Was like I just love hearing other people's stories.
Yeah.
And seeing myself in their stories and
Getting outside of
connected to that.
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, because we're all. I mean, when we got back from that first trip around the United States, it was like very clear to us that, dude, everybody's amazing and loves each other. And like the noise you hear on the news about how broken and like whatever the United States is, like was not the America we saw.
Yeah.
Like everybody's very similar in that they want to be good to each other. They care about each other. They're trying to take care of their neighbors and their families. And like, we're so lucky.
I mean, the first Trump was the first I felt of like a weirdness when we went out to the world to try to like do commercial Real People or something like that. That was the first time I started seeing the polarization, started getting like people accusing us of trying to do something that we weren't, or, you know.
Yeah.
And but then again, like, you know, like I always say, we're like carny workers. We'll go set up shop in, you know, a town. We'll do a movie for a couple months and we're there. And so I have these mini lives all over the countries, and it's just most places are, you know, are great
Good
places. Yeah. Good people.
Yeah. And like I said, us getting outside of our bubble, we're exposed to a lot more of that than people that are just plugging into their 9-to-5 every day.
I've had experiences with mass media and with the news organizations where it's like I've been able to see like how that machine works. It's crazy. Like, I mean, I think they're trying to tell a story, right? It's just, and they're only given what they're given, so they're telling the story of the information they get, you know. But I think it's really hard until you get, as you know, from what we do, we get behind the scenes, and you're like, I didn't think this worked like that.
Yeah,
like
totally.
It always is way different than whatever you thought.
Yeah.
Well, and it's all surface level, right? I think that's back to the AI for a second. You know, I think that's one thing that it will never be able to do, which is like gives me a little faith in our job security, is just really, and I think the word authentic storytelling gets overused a lot, you know, but to me, it's really about building a two-way relationship with whoever you're doing a story on. You know, you have to give as much as you're trying to find out and build a natural and authentic connection with that person so that you understand what's below the surface layer, you know, what are all the intricacies of it. And is AI ever going to be able to, you know, to
I mean,
build
that's the one thing
meaningful?
I've bet on is I believe that it's the one thing it can't do, which is be human. And so it's like that humanity becomes a niche market, right?
Totally.
It becomes super interesting to hear about human stories because we're going to see so much of it, you know. And I think it's already that way in the movies, like we're the superheroes and all this crazy stuff. And it's like a simple human story. It's like someone does it well and you come across it, you're like, oh my God, that was amazing.
Yeah, I want to know more about that.
Yeah,
you know, as opposed to brand world, maybe where 30-second ad, you could just show a cat eating mayonnaise, you know, or I don't know why I'm so hot on the mayonnaise.
My friend
today,
Amon did it, and we had him on the show with Yasmin's Element, and it was just a simple story, and it was just like, it was so beautiful. And you just miss, like, you know, just like it going through a story with a human, you know, and the humanity of it. And I think that'll always be, I think we'll be vinyl, you know?
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Yeah. It's
Still
scary
has a place.
'cause I think the question is like, what does it matter?
Yeah.
You know, if AI can trick you into thinking it's a real person and the experience is just the same, what does it matter? And I think that's what's going to be the tough question moving forward. Because like, for instance, one of the things about AI is that it's not very good at being imperfect.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's going to give you like the most perfect answer. And a lot of what makes us human is our imperfections. It's like the things that are messed up about us. And so now there's this big push to teach AI how to make mistakes.
It's just a prompt. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So it might get to a point where it's indecipherable of what is human, what's AI. And then at that point, you have to ask yourself, like, well, I want it to be human. It's like, yeah, but what does it matter? I can't tell the difference.
I think people will want to know at least. You know? Like I think, like, you know how like if we have a driver, it's like a closed circuit course or whatever in advertising. I believe it's going to happen in advertising. They're going to do an AI commercial. Kid's going to do something crazy. Kid's going to do it. He's not going to know, and then they're going to be like, well, now you got to tell everybody.
Yeah.
Right.
Have to disclose.
You're going to have to disclose it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That is definitely coming.
Yeah.
Because imagine watching a feature documentary about an amazing story of somebody that overcame something amazing and then find out it was all AI, it was all made up, didn't really happen.
Sounds like that could be the next exit through the gift shop.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But then that becomes the question. It's like, what does it matter if it's real or not? Because how you
it's not like Spider-Man's real.
What it meant to you, you know, is what's real.
Yeah.
I don't know. It'll be wild.
Interesting. So what's on tap for you guys coming up? Wrap it up.
Yeah, we've got we're shooting a show right now, which has been a ton of fun.
The one up in North Texas, or
Yeah,
the
well,
ranches?
it kind of all over the place. Yeah, a bunch of different ranches across the country. It's a cooking show, which has been fun for us. Our first cooking show. We've got
It still don't look like you put on too much weight. That's good.
yeah, got to keep it fine. Right?
Yeah.
So that's been a blast. Got a bunch of different projects in development that we're pitching before the end of the year. Got some fun feature stuff that we're working on, which
Yeah, we've got as far as show goes, we're like I said, some game shows, some true crime, some sort of treasure hunt type shows. In the feature space,
Hasn't been a good treasure hunt show in a while. That's good.
Yeah, this is a very different kind of treasure hunt that we can't really talk
Yeah, of
much
course.
about, but
it's pretty awesome though. It's like vintage photography kind of treasure hunt
Cool.
type deal.
yeah.
Yeah.
And then on the feature space, we spent the last year working with 3 different writers on 3 different sort of contained thriller, suspense, horror films.
Knowing where the market's going and how to get something made and like how much cost wise, and so you
How to keep
wrote,
costs
which
down.
is smart, which is you guys wrote to the
Yeah.
where the market's at.
Yeah.
Which you guys have probably learned through reality, knowing the market can shift, and so
Yeah.
it's like right for where the market's going, or what.
Yeah. Well, control what you can control.
Yeah.
So
Super smart.
that was sort of our aim with that. And I think those constraints make the creative product even better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you go into it knowing like this is what we're probably going to spend on it. And so how many locations do you really need? How many actors do you really need? How can we make this even more contained and simple? And it brought out some really cool stories. So we're excited to share those.
Yeah, I mean, I'm often, when people are like, they say, "Oh, we can't make this for less than $6 million." I'm like, "Yeah, you can.
You can.
Yeah, you can."
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like you just can't make it with your threshold of pain below
Totally.
6.
Yeah.
Well, we love pain. So yeah.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you guys. This is awesome.
No, thanks for having us.
Yeah. Appreciate it.
Yeah, it's a fun conversation.
Yeah,
We'll have to
ton of
come
fun.
back as stuff comes out.
Yeah, let's do it.
Our show today was recorded in studio by the good folks at Record ATX. Check them out at recordatx.com. Our theme music is produced by Jonathan Price. You can check out some of the sounds he makes with his project, The Mid-Cities, on Spotify. Follow, subscribe, and smash that like button if you see one. Thanks so much for listening, and we'll see you guys next time.